Listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast, joined now by the color commentator for the Arizona Wildcats, the great Lamont Lovett. Hello, Lamont. Long time no talk.
Hey, Mike, Luke, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, dude. All right, let's get right down to it. You and I first, just sitting there watching this Arizona football team, and I keep saying that I know that the public's in on Jedd Fisch and what they're doing, but I don't know that a lot of people quite understand what's going on here, just from the talent infusion to what we watched today, just where there is a rhyme and reason for everything. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely, from the time he's gotten here, 2-3 years ago to today, from the facilities to the field to the players to everything, it's just a different product and it's just upgraded. And anybody who's taken a look at it, wouldn't say anything different. They look like they're starting to look like a D1 team now. When you're out there, before you kind of see maybe some small guys, but they're pretty big, and you can see their strength and conditioning starting to take hold and all that good stuff right now.
I've had a lot of people ask me this, and they say, we'd like you to grade Jedd Fisch through his first 2 to now going into year 3. Lamont, I give him a solid A right there. What he inherited, and we're going to break down everything we saw, but what he inherited, what he's done, I give him a solid A for Jedd Fisch. What say you?
Oh, I would agree with that assessment. I mean, sometimes the job you're doing can't be quantified in wins and losses. We know that ultimately he's going to be judged on that, but he can only work with what he got when he got here, and he embraced everyone here and just started going to work on, like I said, from top to bottom facilities, raising money, developing his coaching staff, and developing his players. So he's just done a tremendous job of building this program up, and I don't think anyone with eyes could would say that this program's not heading in the right direction, because the trajectory is definitely up right now. And I'm just glad to to be able to witness it and watch these guys grow. It's exciting.
All right, let's talk about the size out there, because that to me is what really, really stands out. And towards the end, we're going to talk about the strength of the team, which is the receiving core and whatnot. But just look at the linemen on both sides. Gone are the days, and this is with all due respect to Parker Zellers, but gone are the days of the 250-pound defensive tackle. You've got men in here across the board, 305 pounds, 310 pounds, 315. I mean, heck, even some overlooked guys that we weren't even thinking about, like a Julian Sabanea. You looked over at me and Sheer, and you're like, who's that dude right there? You just look at it, and it's night and day, man.
Yeah, it's recruiting. That's what that is. They know exactly what they're looking for. They know the type of player that they're looking for at this point, and they don't really compromise. They've got their, I say they've hit their stride in terms of what they're looking for, length as far as players are concerned. You also look at a player and you try to understand and think, what's his potential? What is he going to look like in 2 or 3 years from now too? You don't want to just get a guy that's completely maxed out already. And so what you're seeing is you're starting to see these guys just look completely different. I mean, just look at Ephesians Prysock after 1 year. I mean, he looks like a different player right now. But the defensive line looks big all of a sudden, like you just mentioned, like Bill Norton, Tyler Manoa. I'm looking at these guys. This is the first time that I've really, got a chance to lay my eyes on them standing next to people. And I'm like, holy smokes, they're big in the middle. And then you got Tia Savea coming back, and you still got some other guys coming back. So it's a good looking defensive line now.
And when you look around the conference right now, when you look around everything that's going on, I look at the Pac-12 South, and there is a move to be made there, Lamont, because again, USC is USC. We get all that. Utah is solid. But I'll tell you what, UCLA loses DTR. ASU's in total rebuild, trying to be like what Arizona is doing right the last couple of years right there. We see what you're up to up there in Tempe. Colorado, love Dion, but probably going to take a little bit of time. Arizona is in a nice little spot right now where they can strike if the going's right.
Yeah, no, they definitely are in a nice spot, and where they've started to establish themselves. They've done a nice job of recruiting the last few years, and you're starting to see the fruits of that in practice. You're just seeing a different level of athlete out there on the field, and you're starting to see those 4-star kids that they recruited. Now you're starting to when you're starting out with kids that are 4 stars, and then you're developing them. You're starting at a higher level,
right?
At a higher point, and so you're starting to see that they look faster. They're definitely a bigger, taller team on the field, and you're just seeing some impact players out there. My gosh, man, I was pretty excited watching the offense move the ball, and also watching the defense look stout up the middle, and all of a sudden you see these linebackers coming downhill, and it's looking good.
Well, let's talk about the linebackers right there, because again, you got Jacob Manu, who has definitely bulked up. He's small. I don't care, because he's around the ball, and I think you're going to see him get more of his tackles downhill this year even, which is obviously a good thing. You got Justin Flowe. You've got a Leviticus Sua. You've got, heck, even in there, you've got an Amon Allen who can kind of go back and forth. You've got some pieces there, and quite frankly, if things go right, I think this should be the strength of the defense right there. And that's saying something, because I think you've got some other talented dudes.
Yeah, they've improved. Once again, they've improved at all 3 levels. I really like the defensive front. I like the linebackers. I like Justin Flowe. Really, you can see he's got some pop out there, and you can see the quickness he definitely has. You can see the athleticism when he's running around the field, and there's no hesitation when it comes to contact for him. So that's nice to see. Daniel Hemuli, I know I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrectly, but the kid
transfer from Washington.
Yeah, he looks good. He looks the part as well. And Jacob Manu is just, he's a stud. And he looks different though. He looks a lot different. Last year I thought he looked smallish on the field. He doesn't look small anymore out there. He
looked more narrow than he does right now.
Yeah, he looks bigger. He looks a lot different. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's now talk about a lot of people wondering about, what's going on with the secondary. You lose Christian Roland Wallace, who was a solid player for quite a few years, but again, I know that it looks like you're putting Traden Stoops in at the nickel right there. I get all that. But when you look at Ephesians Prysock, and we'll get to Dakario Davis here in a second, but that is what the new age cornerback is supposed to look like. It's also no surprise that he was a 4-star corner. When you watch how he moves, when you watch how tall he is, that's what that new age cornerback looks like right there, Lamont.
Yeah, he's different. He's a stud. I was watching him go just blow for blow with T-Mac today, and it was something to watch. They were both going at it, and they were both having their share of victories. But he looks like a Pac-12 corner right now. He's looking good out there. And if you watch practice for any amount of time, you immediately see number 7 just standing out there because he's making plays. And I sat down first few minutes. I sit down, he gets an interception. Him and T-Mac going at it, and the sidelines going crazy. And I'm like, yeah, 7's a different player, man. He's a stud.
All right. I led you into the defensive back talk because we've got to talk about your guy, our guy, everybody's guy, Dwayne Aquina. Obviously not in a full-time coaching role, but in an analyst role. I don't care what role he is in as long as he is there with his eyes on the ground, Lamont.
Yeah, he's just I'm so excited to have him back again. He's an impact. We talk about impact players. He's an impact coach. He's a guy that no matter when he's where he is on the field, if you got him in the room, he's going to have an impact because he's such a wealth of knowledge in that area. He's developed so many countless numbers of DBs, put so many people in the NFL, and really just aside from that, he's just been in coaching for so long, so he really, really has a deep understanding, of defense, and just having him in the room is just gonna improve everything. Watching him talk today, he was getting emotional. I was just thinking that's the same passionate coach that I remember when I played. Just loves players, loves kids. I couldn't see him going coaching at that pro level because he loves kids so much and loves to develop them so much, and just a tremendous human being.
Speaking of Akina, speaking of what Jedd Fisch is doing, he has guys like Brian Billick come in. He's had other guys look at tape. The thing that I really, really, really like about Fisch, and I think people misinterpreted it at the time, is they're like, "Oh, he's just bringing in names." No, when you watch it and when you talk to people behind the scenes, he's bringing in these people because they know they have a wealth of knowledge, and Jedd Fisch isn't pretending that he knows everything. And so when he brings these guys in, like an Akina, like a Brian Billick, guys like that, a Sean McVay, he's obviously listening to what they have to say because, again, these guys, they're not going in there just to waste their time, Lamont.
Oh, no question about it, and he's gotten respect, and he's got respect at an NFL level, and he's gotten, he's earned the respect around here because I think, a lot of people maybe thought questioning his chops because, he was a new college coach, but my goodness, Fisch has just done. He just had such an impact already. And one of the things that I was really paying attention to today, they were interviewing Dwayne Akina after practice, and he was talking about him sitting down with Jedd Fisch, and he was just saying that I haven't seen this much energy in this program for so long. And he's been a part of some really great staffs at the University of Arizona, some of the best that have ever been here. And he says that he's got that same feeling back here again. And that was kind of cool to hear that, someone else from my era is looking at this and going, yeah, this feels right. And it is. There's a lot of dynamic coaches all over the place, and the program's, it's headed in the right direction.
All right, Lamont, let me tell you about the official beer of PHNX Sports. 4 Peaks right here. 4. Okay, you might say to yourself, Mike, what about 4 Peaks? Thanks for asking. Here's the deal. New coach, new GM. The Cardinals have the 3rd pick in the draft. It's a big opportunity for our team. The best place to take in this pivotal moment and the rest of the NFL draft is April 27th at 4 Peaks 8th Street Pub. Must be 21 years or up to enjoy. Now, Lamont, if you were watching the NFL draft with a 4 Peaks in hand, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Who would you like to see the Chiefs draft?
Oh my gosh! I just want them to continue to fortify their defense, and I think they need an impact wide receiver. Because I wasn't feeling, but Juju he's a good receiver.
Juju lost his juju.
Yeah, he's not the same guy. He's a good player, but I mean, they need an impact guy that can get down the field. So they need a receiver.
Okay, now remember, 4peaks.com/events for all your beer week entertainment. And we got another exciting announcement for everybody out there. Fubo TV. Here's the deal. You can watch Arizona on Bally Sports with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up 15% off your first month of Fubo free. And here's the cool thing about it, guys. 140 live channels of sports shows, movies, stream TVs from any device. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. You might say, you know what? I like watching Mike Luke because I like making fun of Mike Luke. And if that's the case, you can go on to Fubo right there. We will be on there, Fubo TV. And again, watch local teams while traveling. It is your one-stop shop. Check it out. Okay, Lamont, going into this year, I think that this is a bowl team. Now, again, I know that Jedd Fisch and coaches always say we're not going to look for wins. We're looking for improvement and whatnot. But I look at this team, though. This feels like a bowl team. We've seen bowl teams around here before. But what's impressive to me about this is when Rich Rod's teams made bowls, it always felt like you were going to have one unit that was going to have to basically carry the rest of the team right there, whether that was a quarterback, whatever. This team feels like they've been built from the ground up right here. And that's what's exciting to me about this. This feels like a bowl team all the way across the board. Granted, the defense needs to improve.
Yeah, that's really where I think every area probably needs to improve. But I think the defense, if they can make that type of a jump on the defensive side of the ball this year, then I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to get to a bowl game. And from what I've seen already, this defense they look different already right now. You can definitely see that there's been some improvements, not just on the personnel front, but you can just watch the way they're running to the ball right now. It's a lot different right now. You can see, I think, that they've worked some more things out schematically, and they just look a little bit more organized as a unit out there right now. So I'm definitely looking for some big improvement out of him. For everything I've seen so far, I like it. I like the way they're running to the ball. They're having some physical practices out there, and they're just going blow for blow with each other. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to see one unit just destroying the other unit.
Right.
We see some back and forth. And that's really what we saw out there today. I mean, would you
Philip
agree?
Taylor makes a great question, as always, from Philip Taylor. Can the D-line take a significant step forward? I say yes for a couple reasons. First, all due respect to, first of all, Hunter Echols surpassed my expectations last year. Jalen Harris as well, solid. Deuce Davis, to me, though, at that defensive end, and you and I have talked a lot about him, kid out of Chandler, you got to remember here, led the state in sacks. Father was a second-round draft pick. You watch the muscle that he's put on. You watch his bend, his explosion. I think that there's some real sack numbers to be had there. And you texted me a while back saying, man, Deuce has put on some weight. Let's talk a little bit about what he means right there, and then we'll get into the interior line.
Yeah, I've always had a lot of respect for his game, and I love the fact that, he's got the bloodlines, and he's got, a dad at home that has played at the highest level. That never hurts, and you can always see that. I think I've always seen that in him. You could always tell that he understood, technique and things of that nature, and he understood his leverage, and he's just blessed with some, God's blessed him with that get off. That first step of his is just wicked. So he's going to have an impact this year, and he's never been, even though he's been small, he's always done a nice job. He's always held his own against bigger guys. Now that he's getting some size on, I'm just saying, the future's going to be bright for him. I guarantee you.
All right, guys that he's going to be lining up next to. And I got a bunch of people saying to me, and I'm sure you did too, well, what the heck? We just lost defensive tackles to USC and LSU. And all I say is those guys were losing minutes by the end of the year. And again, wish both of them nothing but the best in Parashan and Keon Bars. But between Tai Uiagalelei, Jacob Kangaika, these were guys that were forcing their way in to the scene. And again, like a lot of other people, generally you see when, your minutes are starting to get cut a little bit. I'm incredibly excited to see what these two young men can do because, again, these were the epitome, in my opinion, of great evals by this coaching staff.
Yeah. You're talking about all those Trinity guys that have come through. And Tai, they're moving him around this year. They're moving him deep. I saw him at defensive end. I think he's kind of playing in that role a little bit that Jayden was in last year because he's a bigger, more of a bigger defensive end. Looking good, coming off the edge, really tough. And they move him inside as well because he's a great pass rusher, strong kid, plays great technique already. And I also Manoa. Well, we talked about the tackles already, but if we're talking about the edge rushers, Deuce Davis, and then Deuce Lane is the other kid. He's definitely grown. He's bigger already, and I'm seeing him mix it up in there. And I've been seeing some nice pressure from the defense. So they're competing back there. They look tougher. They look a lot tougher up front.
One guy that I'm incredibly excited to see, and I have no idea what to expect, but I like where he's coming from, is Big Bill Norton right there. First of all, if there's ever a name for a defensive tackle, it is Bill Norton. It's a fantastic name. I don't care, though, that he didn't play a ton at Georgia because guess what? Everybody at Georgia is a first-round pick. So that means nothing to me. I'm excited to see what he can come in here and do because, again, I don't know what to expect. But you look at him on the sideline, Lamont, he's huge.
Yeah. No, he looks good. Everything I've seen in there, I think a lot of times people don't necessarily know what they're looking at when they're looking at defensive tackles because they're not always guys that get sacks, all the time. But if he's taking on a double team and he's holding his gap there, that's not exciting stuff to a lot of people to see a guy take on a double team and hold his gap. But when you got big, strong bodies like that down there, and he's doing a really good, excellent job from what I've seen already. And size, strong, big, strong, physical, and long. So those are all. He's got all the traits of every what you want in a D tackle.
Moving back to that linebacker spot, Justin Flowe. We had Greg Biggins on before, and he's, probably the lead recruiting analyst in the entire West Coast for a long time. And he said that he was the best linebacker prospect he's ever scouted. And you and I talked about this. Sometimes when you go to a place like Oregon, and it's not to say that they didn't want it to work out, but you can kind of get lost in the shuffle here a little bit. This, to me, is a great fit for both sides because you come here, Arizona needs Justin Flowe to work. Justin Flowe needs Arizona to work for him as well. And again, if there's anybody on the defense, and there's a lot of dudes that look different, but if there's anybody on the defense that you're like, You know, that's Justin Flowe to a T right there.
Yeah, anytime you can get a California, player of the year type of guy here, we'll take those guys all day long. And like I say, everything is about development, and sometimes when you get to these big, blue blood type programs, sometimes the development gets lost in the shuffle. Sometimes, you could get an injury, and next thing you know, the next guy's up. Before you know it, you're buried. You're buried on the depth chart, and you're not getting the time. And he's had some, he had some injuries from the time. He had a couple of bad injuries. So those are things that can all slow down your growth. But the fact that we got him here, and the fact that he's around all these coaches, and we really make a big point here at Arizona. His development is the key. And so, the more that he develops, he's going to be scary. He's going to be a good player, I guarantee you.
I see Kevin Green here in the chat, or Kevin Green, I believe his father here in the chat. We're going to get to, we're big fans of your son here in just a second.
Yeah,
but first, Lamont, do you like pizza?
Yes, I do. Catch you.
All right. You might say to yourself, Mike, where's a good place to find pizza? Mountain Mike's Pizza. I am not Mountain Mike, believe it or not. Mountain Mike has a lot more money than I do. But you could go to Oracle and Wetmore and check it out. Good food, good drink, and you can watch TV. This might also be a place to go if you're listening to Brian and Lamont and you can't make it to the game. Bring your AirPods, listen to the game, get some pizza, get some good food, and you can watch it as well. Head over to Mountain Mike's Pizza or to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to place your next order. Reminder, new Diehards get a $50 voucher. And one more. Lamont, I assume you've been to Circle K. Is this correct?
Yeah, many times.
Okay, well, Circle K. We're very excited to partner with Circle K on this show as well. Now, you might say to yourself, well, Circle K, here's the best thing I can say about Circle K is that they service everything in Tucson. You can go into one of the toughest areas, Circle K. You can go into one of the nicest areas, Circle K. They're there. Polar Pops, all kinds of good beer, good drinks. And again, we're excited to partner with our friends at Circle K to kick things off. We've teamed up for an amazing giveaway opportunity. Text PHNX to 31310 for an opportunity to win a $500 gas card. See show notes for details. Beer, food, drink. Check it out right there, Circle K. All right, let's talk wide receivers because in my opinion, and Jacob, have that graphic ready right there. In my opinion, this Arizona wide receiving core is as deep as we've seen in at least 25 years at Arizona. And keep in mind, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about a team that had Dennis Northcutt, that had Jeremy McDaniel, both NFL guys, 2 NFL tight ends in Brandon Manamuliana and Mike Lucky. But let's look at this right now. When you've got a Jacob Cowing returning right there, who led the nation in yards after catch, a Tanner McLaughlin at tight end, who we talked about, who's got NFL potential, a T-Mac right there, and those are just the 3 returning starters. We're not even getting into the other guys, which we're going to get into in a second. Lamont, this is a special unit right here.
Oh, there's no question about it. Dominant. It comes to mind when I'm looking at him. And I'm watching these guys out here, the game right now, because they're so well developed, and because they've taken their game to another level, everything looks easy to them. Looks like it's coming to them easy out there, but it's just that these guys run great routes. They do a great job attacking the ball once in the air. And then they all got great hands, run after the catch. Everything is there for these guys. And T-Mac has really changed his entire body, changed everything. Cowling looks different right now too. They moved him outside. I'm seeing him a lot more on the outside. And he's getting behind people. He's making the type of plays that we know he can make. And so I think it's a great move to do more downfield things with him.
Am I being a homer in saying that there is not a receiving core in the country that I would take over T-Mac, Jacob Cowing, and then you've got other guys too, like a Malachi Riley, a Kevin Green, who starred all throughout last year, and then a Tanner McLaughlin, a Kean Burnett? I think there's not a receiving unit in the country that I would take over that unit there, Lamont.
I think they're great for what Arizona's doing here, and I do believe that they are very good. I'm with you on that. I wouldn't trade them for anybody, and I think that they do an excellent job of evaluating wide receiver talent here. So if they're recruiting new receivers out there, you should come because they know what they're doing here. And Kevin Green is a great example. I mean, he's a guy that's been he's been in the oven a little bit, so to speak, but now I think he's ready to come out and make an impact. We were watching him last Saturday and watching today. And the gentleman was watching with me. He used to coach on on the previous staff, and he said, "Who is that?" Because he was
Right.
watching how shifty he was and how quick he was coming in and out of his breaks. And when he got the ball, it was hard to tackle him. You just can't get him. You can't tackle him in the phone booth. So he's going to have an impact. He's such a dog, and he just tough, quick, everything you want in a receiver. Great hands, great routes, and he's going to have a huge impact. I guarantee you. He needs the ball in his hands, though, for sure.
Isn't that the ultimate sign, though, of the talent level improving here, that we have a USC decommit that we were able to kind of, get ready for this year? Because in the past, especially under Sumlin, Richrod, if you got a USC decommit, basically it was, stop the presses. What are we doing here? And again, we're incredibly excited about it, but it just goes to show you the level of talent here. And another thing, too, speaking of USC, I know a lot of people were asking me, are they going to try to get Gary Bryant? I'm glad they're not pursuing Gary Bryant. And it's nothing to do with Gary Bryant. He's a very good player. But between Coleman, between Kevin Green, A.J. Jones, heck, even a Jackson Holman, I love the young talent on this roster. And I think that Arizona made the right decision in sticking local and sticking young there, Lamont.
Yeah. Malachi Riley is another player. He looks like a veteran out there. He just left high school, and he's coming out here torching people already. He's big, he's physical, fast already. Runs great routes. And if you're practice long enough, you're going to see him make some plays, because he's making a lot of plays out there. So, they're doing a great job again. I think that they just do a tremendous job with the evaluation process, and then once they get here, they develop them. They develop receivers here. If you're a receiver, you're watching this, man. This is the place to come to play wide receiver. Yeah, you can go to a lot of places, but you're playing an NFL-style system here. You got one of the best wide receiver coaches in the country. And,
I would say the best wide receiver coach in the country.
He's a tremendous coach, but let's keep that one on the low. We don't want that.
True.
We don't want people trying to get him, but he's a great coach. And if you're a running back, this is the place to come. I'm telling you right now. Our running back room is going to another level too. It's fun to watch right now.
All right. Well, speaking about that, Lamont, you could basically be running this show, because I didn't even show you the notes, and we're going over to the running back position right here. So you got 3 running backs here, and this is a little bit like the wide receiver room right here. You got 3 running backs that, you know what, if they have to get the ball 20 times, I'm totally cool with that. Between Michael Wiley, and then you got Jonah Coleman, who looks exactly like Maurice Jones-Drew. He looks like a refrigerator with feet. And then you got DJ Williams there as well. Man, all of a sudden, just the talent and the revamping of these skill positions has been insane.
It really has. It has. And I think you have to definitely tip your cap to Scotty Graham, because I think he's a tremendous coach. And I think that, these guys, you can see the development. We know if you've gotten a scholarship at this level to play running back, everybody on this, they can all run the ball. That's the reason they're here. We know they can run the ball. But after they get here, what levels they go to from there has a lot to do, with where the coach is taking them, taking them where they can't take themselves. And I'm just really, it's exciting to watch Jonah Coleman out there just run people over and bounce off guys. And he took it to the house today. That was a tremendous run that I saw. He had a really explosive run. He showed me that speed. That he's actually gotten faster. You could see it on that run today, because no one caught him when he broke into the open. Speedy Luke is a guy that
let's talk about Fam here for a second. He's a guy, I'll think a lot of times, and you and I were talking about this on the sideline, there's a lot of guys, I don't worry about T-Mac and Jacob Cowan getting their touches. They're going to get their touches. But this is the guy, don't care how it happens, got to get the ball to him 7 to 10 times per game, whether that's returning kicks, because he's a natural football player. We've seen guys here that were track stars, Lamont, but they were track stars playing football. He's a football player who's also a track star.
And he's got that speed. He's got that speed button that you can press. That's the thing that's frightening. Because he can score from anywhere on the field. But yes, he does, and you're right. He needs to touch the ball. You got to figure out when you got a guy that's got that kind of speed. And he's a big play threat like that. You want to find ways to get the ball in his hands, because good things can happen when you get the ball in the hands of your athletes. But I'd be remiss if we don't talk about Mike Wiley, having Mike Wiley back. That guy's he's a great player, just a great player. He's all around, catches the ball
all around. That's the key.
Blocks, can take it to the house on you. Smart. Someone's going to get a great player if the NFL is smart enough to pick him up, because he's a heck of a player, and I'm excited to watch him take that next step this year and become, a superstar in our conference.
Doesn't he feel like a Shane Vereen type that's going to end up on the New England Patriots? And he's going to play there for like 6 to 8 years. He'll be like a jack of all trades. He'll be a special teams ace, all that kind of stuff.
I could see him playing. In the league for a few years. He can. I mean, he does everything that you need. He can block. He's smart and can catch out of the backfield. And he's got that ability to take it to the house. He finds ways to get in the open. First guy never tackles him. I mean, he's got all those traits that you kind of look for. He's got that stop and start. He's got it all. Man. He's right. A great player.
All right, offense.
DJ Williams, one more. DJ Williams is also that's the tank right there, because he can run you over and then run away from you after he runs you over. So he's another one.
I think he's the most physically gifted of the three. Like if you were just to, I mean, again, they're all really talented. So again, I'm not saying, but he's just the guy. You can see where he was a high 4-star kid coming out of high school, that, he was going to Auburn and whatnot. And you've seen it on the field. It's just such an embarrassment of riches right now, because there's been a lot of years here where, let's be honest here, Lamont, I mean, if he's running second or third on the depth chart, he would be getting 25 carries a game on some previous coaching staffs. I mean, let's be honest.
No, he's a great player, and he's got that ability to take it to the house. I always think about that run against Oregon where he hit that corner and no one got close to him when he got in the open field. So he's a big play threat as well. So yeah, I definitely excited to have him back too.
All right, Lamont, it's time for you to spike the football a little bit on the offensive line right here, because I'll be honest with you. When you were telling me before the season last year, you told me, you said, watch this Wendell Moe kid. We're going to get to Sabonis and all of them. He said, watch. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I know he came in overweight. He was committed, signed with Morgan State. Lamont, you were a voice of reason when it came to me right there, because he was starting by midseason and he was an absolute monster. And I don't see him coming out opposite Jonas Sabonis at those two guard positions.
Yeah, he's built like a guard. You like guards to be like that, guys that can get underneath you, powerful, quick, surprisingly athletic for how big he was. Those are the things that just kind of stood out. I just watched a few clips of him in high school, but
don't be modest. Don't be modest. Every kid you've ever told me about that we're sleeping on turns out to be a starter. Let's be honest here.
Whatever, but I mean, I watch a lot of football, so I just tell you my opinion of what I see.
Right.
I just watch it a lot, and so when I saw him, though, it wasn't hard to recognize if you have eyes and if you know what you're looking at. I thought he was very athletic for how big he was. When I looked at his weight again and I saw him pulling, I just kept watching him pull. I kept running that clip back of him pulling around and just wiping people out. I was like, this guy, he's got something. And I was just wondering, would it translate at this level? And it absolutely has. I mean, they knew what they were looking at. Again, I have to give credit to the staff for uncovering these guys and finding them too, because I mean, they know what they're looking for.
All right, we got to talk about Big Jonah here, because if you were to ask me one player on the team that is going to be a first-round pick, barring injury, that I feel very comfortable will be a first-round pick, it's Jonas Sabonis. He carries 330 pounds, and it looks like it's 280 pounds. He is your prototypical guard, a guy that, can be a first-round pick, and he starts for 10 years. I know what I'm saying right there. But again, he is just different. He looks like somebody that should be starting at Alabama or Georgia, with all due respect.
No, yeah, he's scary. He gets in here as a true freshman, and he's immediately one of the stronger guys on the team. You could just see, you can see the athleticism, and it's rare. Let's be honest, it's rare for a freshman to step onto the field and start at this level, because usually it takes him a few years to develop physically, but. He comes from a great program in Hawaii, and he's just physically gifted. He's big and strong as heck, but he also had technique. That's what I noticed from looking at his high school film, that he had a lot of technique. And so those are the things that get you onto the field right away. He's physically ready. And then, they're getting, and like I say, they're developing guys here, man. We got all these NFL coaches here. They develop players.
Right.
To Arizona, and that's what's happening with Jonah. And you're going to see him take another step this year. Going to be even scarier after another year of strength and conditioning. And like you said, the baby fat's going off, and it's just looking like all muscle right now. So yeah, he's got a bright future.
All right, let me tell you about Tap and Bottle. We promote all the vices on this show, from gambling to drinking to sports. Well, they're not vices, let's be honest. They're just part of a day of life. Tap and Bottle, though, support local. Scott and Rebecca do a great job right there. You check them out downtown or at the Northwest location on Oracle, and you can many times get 4 Peaks right there. That's how good everything across the board right there, tap and bottle. Plus, we have our tap and bottle watch parties there as well. And, Lamont, have you heard of Illegal Pete's?
I have not. I can't say that I have.
All right. Illegal Pete's is a place on University. High energy for the kids right there. And nothing cures your bracket. Is busted in the first round like fresh limes, tequila, lots of tequila, and sweet agave. Try out an Illegal Pete's coin premium or frozen margarita. Stop by for happy hour 3 to 6 p.m. every day. No better place to go watch the games. And again, whether you're older like me or you're younger like some other people, you can go check it out. Illegal Pete's on University, or they also have one at Tempe. Get a burrito box. All right, now, quarterback position. Saving the most intriguing position for last. We know what we saw with Jayden de Laura this past year. What is the next move for Jayden de Laura in your opinion? What do you want him to be? Because I want him to be an all-conference dude. I think he's got that ability. Yes, I know that Caleb Williams is in the conference. I'm well aware of that. But to me, there's no reason that Jayden de Laura, with his talent, with the skill players that he has around him, can't compete for that second spot right there, Lamont.
Yeah, everything I've seen so far, I mean, he looks poised to make that jump. I mean, I was watching him today, and just in the pocket, he just looks more calm in the pocket. And again, usually when you see guys not have happy feet in the pocket, it's because they know where they're supposed to go with the ball. Hey, also, if you have nice protection around, he had some good protection around him, but you can just see that he really, really recognizes where he's supposed to go with the ball, and he's a couple of steps ahead of what the defense is doing. He's getting the ball out. It's getting out of his hands quickly, and he's throwing it very well right now. I mean, I watched him throw a deep out in the corner of the end zone to Cowing, and he put that thing on a rope and he put it in the spot. And it was just a beautiful pass. And you can see he's still developing and he's getting better, and that's the key. Not just to be stagnant and be rest on what he could say, look, I had great stats last year, but he also recognized that he can take it to another level. And that's what he's doing. He's busting his tail, and his body looks different. He's throwing the ball differently right now, and you can see, him recognizing. And a lot of that is just recognition, because he knows where he needs to go with the ball. He's getting it out faster, and he's mastered the system a little bit better. And you can see all those things.
You obviously never want any quarterback to go down, but in this day and age in football, you got to have a backup. Arizona has that backup in Noah Fifita. I remember the days, you remember the days, and this, with all due respect, where Adam Austin's coming in for Willie Tuitama against LSU, and or players like that. Noah Fifita, I know, is probably about 5'7", 5'8", but man, he wings. He's got the best arm on the team. Everything about him feels like a, outside of the size, big time right there. And he's a guy that if he has to go in for extended period of time, multiple games, I feel more than comfortable that he's going to be able to deliver.
Well, he did do that last year.
Yeah.
Was it the Utah game they brought him in? I think it was Utah. And he marched the team right down.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Right. Let's see this again.
Yeah. There's no fear in him. He's a tiger, man. I like to see. He's a Wildcat. That's better. He's a Wildcat. I like to see him get in the game and make plays. He's got all the ability that you need. He's got that live arm. He's very accurate. Heady. You can tell he knows what he's doing out there. You can tell he knows where to go with the football. And I watch those type of things. When the quarterback drops back, is he staring down his receiver because he's locked in on somebody, or is he taking what the defense is giving him and he's getting rid of the ball quickly? A lot of it is upstairs, and you can really see that he's got that mentality as well as the ability to be successful out there. So it's fun to watch him, and he's a tough kid too as well, and super athletic. So yeah, he's got a lot of traits, and he's going to do just fine.
Fair to say that it's an enjoyable time to be back in the A right now for this Arizona Wildcat team?
Oh, for sure. I think things are turning. And, for Wildcat fans, hang on, man, because I think that, get on board right now, because I definitely think the program's headed in the right direction. And, just get behind this program with everything. Get behind them with your pocketbooks. Get behind them with your support out on the field, because this team needs it. But they're also headed in the right direction. A lot of good things coming for Arizona Wildcats, so hang in there and bear down.
Right. And back the A.
Always back the A.
He's the great Lamont Lovett. I'm Mike Luke. Jacob Franklin behind the scenes, doing all the dirty work for us. Again, Lamont, always appreciate you, my guy, and be ready for a text barrage here coming up shortly.
Bear down.
You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.